There is a question that continues to divide pet owners around the world. Is neutering an animal truly beneficial, or could it bring negative consequences for its health and behavior? For some people, neutering represents an act of care and responsibility, a way to protect animals from disease and prevent the suffering caused by overpopulation and abandonment. For others, however, the idea feels like an excessive interference with an animal's natural life, as if something essential is being altered. Between these two perspectives, countless stories, strong opinions, and many doubts circulate in conversations among friends, across social media, and even in debates among animal lovers. You may have already heard someone claim that neutering completely changes a pet, that it loses energy, joy, or even part of its personality. At the same time, veterinarians and specialists often explain that the procedure can bring important health benefits and may even increase the life expectancy of dogs and cats. With so many different opinions, it can be difficult to know whom to believe. The truth is that this topic is surrounded by a mixture of scientific information and popular myths that have spread over time. When these two things become confused, the decision can seem much more complicated than it actually is. That's why understanding what really happens in an animal's body and behavior after neutering is essential for any owner who wants to make responsible and informed decisions. Today, we're going to explore this subject clearly and honestly, separating myths from facts and revealing what science truly says about neutering pets. One of the most common myths about neutering is the idea that dogs and cats inevitably become lazy and overweight after the procedure. Many people notice their pets gaining weight sometime after surgery and naturally associate this change directly with neutering. However, when we look at what happens biologically in the animal's body, the situation is a bit more complex. After neutering, metabolism may decrease slightly, which means the animal may need fewer calories to maintain a healthy weight. That doesn't mean, however, that obesity is inevitable. In most cases, weight gain happens because the amount of food offered stays the same while the pet's energy expenditure decreases. In other words, the determining factor isn't the procedure itself but the lifestyle the animal has afterward. Neutered dogs and cats still need physical and mental stimulation, playtime, walks, and activities that keep their bodies active and healthy. When food portions are adjusted properly and pets continue to have opportunities to move and explore their environment, their weight usually remains stable. This shows that obesity is not an unavoidable consequence of neutering. Instead, it's something that can be easily prevented with basic care. In the end, the real secret lies in maintaining a balance between proper nutrition, exercise, and attentive pet care. Another widely spread myth is the belief that female animals need to have at least one litter before being spayed to become healthier or emotionally balanced. This idea has passed through generations and is still repeated with great confidence by many people today. However, when we examine the evidence from modern veterinary medicine, there is no scientific proof supporting this supposed benefit. Waiting for an animal to go through pregnancy may actually increase certain health risks. One of the most concerning conditions is pyometra, a serious uterine infection that can progress rapidly and put a dog's or cat's life in real danger. In addition, mammary tumors are significantly more common in females that are not spayed early. The belief that animals need to experience motherhood to be healthy comes much more from human projection than from a real biological need. Animals do not have the same emotional concept of motherhood that humans often imagine. For them, reproduction is primarily driven by hormonal impulses and natural instincts, not by a conscious desire to have offspring. For this reason, many veterinarians recommend spaying before the first heat cycle as an effective strategy to reduce several health risks throughout the animal's life. When we set myths aside and examine what science shows, it becomes clear that neutering can provide important health benefits for dogs and cats. One of the most well-known advantages is the significant reduction in the risk of certain types of cancer. In females, early spaying drastically lowers the chances of developing mammary tumors, which can be aggressive and difficult to treat. The procedure also eliminates the risk of ovarian cancer and reduces problems related to the uterus. In males, neutering prevents testicular cancer and can reduce the occurrence of prostate diseases that are more common in older animals. Another extremely important benefit is the prevention of pyometra, a severe uterine infection that can progress quickly and often requires emergency surgery to save the animal's life. Beyond the health benefits, neutering also helps reduce behaviors that can put pets in dangerous situations. Unneutered animals often attempt to escape in search of mates during breeding periods, increasing the risk of car accidents, fights with other animals, and getting lost. Because of these factors, many specialists consider neutering one of the most effective preventive strategies in modern veterinary medicine. When performed properly and at the right time, it can contribute significantly to a longer and healthier life. One of the biggest concerns pet owners have been whether neutering might change their pet's personality. This concern is understandable after all. No one wants their companion to lose the qualities that make them special. The good news is that a dog's or cat's core temperament usually remains the same after the procedure. Traits such as being playful, curious, affectionate, or calm are influenced mainly by genetics, socialization, and life experiences. What may change are certain behaviors directly linked to reproductive hormones. These can include urine marking, frequent attempts to escape, and some episodes of aggression related to competition for mates. In many cases, these behaviors decrease significantly after neutering, which can make living with the animal more peaceful and safer. However, it's important to remember that learned habits or more complex behavioral problems don't automatically disappear with surgery. Proper training, environmental enrichment, and consistent interaction with the owner remain essential for maintaining an animal's emotional balance. Rather than changing a pet's personality, neutering usually just reduces hormonal impulses that may cause stress or risky behavior. After understanding the myths and truths about neutering, a practical question naturally arises. When is the right time to perform the procedure? The answer can vary depending on several factors, such as the species, breed, size, and even the animal's lifestyle. In cats, neutering is often recommended around 5 to 6 months of age, usually before the first heat cycle occurs. For dogs, however, the recommendation can vary more, especially with large breeds that tend to develop physically at a slower pace. Some veterinarians prefer to wait until these animals reach a more advanced stage of growth before performing the surgery. Because of this, there isn't a single universal rule that fits every case. The best approach is always to consult a trusted veterinarian who can evaluate the animal's health history and recommend the most appropriate timing. It's also important to ensure the procedure is performed in a safe environment, with qualified professionals and proper monitoring during recovery. When done correctly, the surgery is relatively quick, and animals usually recover very well. Making this decision with the guidance of accurate information and professional advice is one of the most responsible ways to care for a pet's well-being. Caring for an animal is a commitment that goes far beyond daily affection and the joyful moments we share with them. It also means taking responsibility for important decisions that can directly influence their health, safety, and quality of life. Neutering is often one of those choices that requires information, reflection, and empathy. When we better understand the myths and truths surrounding this procedure, we realize that it isn't just a medical intervention. It's also an important tool for protecting animals and reducing problems such as abandonment and overpopulation. In many parts of the world, millions of dogs and cats live on the streets simply because they were born without enough homes available to care for them. Every responsible decision made by a pet owner can help change that quiet reality. In the end, learning more about the animal world helps us take better care of those who trust us every single day. And if you enjoy discovering these fascinating stories, curiosities, and truths about pets and wild animals, take a moment to explore the other videos on the channel. Here, every piece of content is a new opportunity to better understand the incredible diversity of animal life. Subscribe to the channel and continue this scientific, emotional, and discovery-filled journey through the amazing world of animals.